bit. It says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. You will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the law of Elohim in you. So with that being said, we're going to go look at Exodus chapter 31 and about verse 12. Whose phone number is this? I do not know. (31:12). And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Yasharah, saying, Truly my Shabbats ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahuwah, that doth sanctify you. Well, we look right here, this word for sign is going to be the Hebrew word, and it's going to basically be like oath, is how you would pronounce it. It's translated as sign, token, or mark. It is spelled with the aleph, the va, and the ta. And it's going to come out to mean, well, let's put it this way. We know the aleph stands for the mighty one, or the head. The va indicating the nail, and the ta is a picture of a stake. And the ta actually means mark, sign, or covenant. So when we look at this one here, we see that the mighty one was nailed to a stake or to a tree. And we see the keeping the Shabbat is that sign or that oath between Yah. So it's saying that Yahushua is the master of the Shabbat. And keeping this will identify us with him. So what we end up looking at in the Most High will, and we'll sit back, because I know I mentioned it on the Shabbat about that mark of the beast, and we'll lead to it. Might not touch it this evening, but it'll lead up to it. You know, Hashatan copies everything that Yah does. And you're going to sit back and see where Yah sets a mark on his people. You know what I'm saying? And this is why he was turning around and set a mark on his people, because he's trying to copy what Yah doing. So let's finish this verse, the next verse. He said, You shall keep the Shabbat, therefore, for it is Kadesh unto you. Everyone that defileth shall surely be put to death. For whosoever do any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from amongst his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Shabbat of rest, Kadesh to Yahuwah. Whosoever do any work on the Shabbat day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Yasharah shall keep the Shabbat, to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Yasharah forever. For in 6 days Yahuwah made Shamahim and Arats, and on the seventh day he rested and he was refreshed. So we sit back and look at the Shabbat is a sign or a token or a mark. And this is sitting back looking at it. These are the things that will set Yah's people apart from others. Let's look at something in Ezekiel chapter 9. Go sit down, Lizzie. About verse 2, I should say. Ezekiel 9 and 2. Go over there. And it says, Behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, every man a slaughter weapon in his hand, and one man among them was clothed with linen, with the writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood before the brazen altar. And the esteem of the Elohim of Yasharah was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And Yahuwah said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that are done there in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in my hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite, and let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. Now look, he said to set a mark in their forehead. Let's just sit back and look at what Hashatan gonna do. Revelation 13. Let's just sit back and look how he copied. Because everything y'all do, he turn around and do. Y'all say set a mark in their foreheads. Now we'll come back to that and look at it in the Hebrew in a second. What's going on in that chapter. He said set a mark in their forehead. He said, all them that sighed and cried at the abominations that were going on in the midst of the city. He say set a mark right in their foreheads. Revelation about 13 and excuse me, 16. We'll make it 14. And deceive them that dwell on the Arats by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the Arats that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Now, of course, we not don't deal with the Greek too hard, but I'm gonna just look at it real fast. Just give me 1 second. Now they've got this word here. It's called, I say, kargma. And it says a stamped or an imprinted mark, or the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the anti-Mashiach. Now, let's look at something when we look at that, right? Let's look at something in Exodus chapter 13, verse 9. See what that says. Before we come back to Ezekiel 9. Exodus 13 and 9. It said, we'll look at about verse 6 or verse 5. It shall be when Yahuwah shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to Yahuwah. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Yahuwah did unto me when I came forth out of Mizraim. And it shall be a sign unto thee upon thy hand for a memorial between thine eyes, that Yahuwah's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand have Yahuwah brought thee out of Mizraim. Now notice that he just sat back and he stated that the keeping of the Passover, he say, it will be a sign unto thee upon thy hand and a memorial between thine eyes. And it's interesting that this man sit back and you see Hashatan when he say to worship the image of this beast, that he would want you to have this mark in your forehead and in your hand. Just like what our law say, just like what this man coming to do. Now when we look at Exodus 13, come on Elizabeth, stop, hush. See, Exodus 13 and 9, right? When we look at verse 9 for the word sign, it's the word oath, and it means sign, signal, a distinguishing mark, a banner, remembrance, a miraculous sign, an omen, a warning, a token, an insight, a standard, a miracle, or proof. So when you sit back and look at it, it means it's a token. So when we look at a token, and it's something that you keep in remembrance. You sit back and you look at it, you got Hashatan, and in order for you to keep service to him, he wants you to have the same token and remembrance right in your forehead and in your hand, like Yah told you to have when you were coming up out of Mizraim, coming up out of sin. See, it's something I was talking to a brother with the other day when I'm holding this in my head. Hold this Exodus. We do good in Exodus 13 while we holding Ezekiel 9. Just follow what I'm talking about. Come over here to Revelation 18 and 23. What was wrong with her? Look at Revelation 18, 23. Well, make it 20. Revelation 18 and 20. Basically, when you turn around and you look at it, when he's causing all the people to worship, we're going to sit back and see that Hashatan is trying to get you to come into a covenant with him. So when you come into a covenant with him, you taking on the mark or the remembrance or the oath with him, or the distinguishing mark with him. He said, rejoice over her, thou Shamahim and ye Kadesh apostles and prophets, for Elohim have avenged you on her. And a mighty Malachim took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and the voice of musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of the millstone shall be no more heard no more at all in thee. And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, and for by thy sorceries were all the nations deceived. Now, we were talking about this here, right? A lot of the times when we're going to look at it real fast, when you look at the word, you're going to see the Greek word for sorcery. And it's the word that's used for pharmacy. It's like pharmakos or something like that, but I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But I'm going to show you something. Because this is what Hashatan turning around to do, to get you to turn around and take that oath with him. The same way we look in the law and sit back and see that he said you supposed to keep coming up out of Mizraim as a token, as a sign, as pharmakia. And you know, it say the use or administering of drugs or poisoning. But in the third definition, it's sorcery. Magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. The deceptions and seductions of idolatry. You know what I'm saying? So when you sit back and you look at the deceptions and seductions of idolatry, how would Hashatan be able to get you to come to be deceive you with the deception, seduction of idolatry? He would have to come work a great sign, the same way that Mashiach worked a great sign, the way you would do what the law say and keep in remembrance as a token in your forehead and in your hand, just like Exodus 13 say. Because that's what he coming to do. All he coming to do is try to recreate and mock what Yah did. That's how he do it. One of the biggest examples of it right is, okay, you got the resurrection of the dead. How does Satan try to mock the resurrection of the dead? With zombies. Try to make you think you're going to come out a grotesque creature that feeds on brains. You know what I'm saying? He always try to come with the opposite. So let's go back and look at Exodus 13 one more time, just for clarity. As we keep in mind that the sorceries that he say that deceived all the nations, we run that all the way back down. Come on back to Exodus 13. Just run that back one more time. So knowing that it started up right there at verse, just look at verse 1 and then we'll reference all this here. Because we're looking at unleavened bread. We know what happened during unleavened bread. Mashiach took a deadly wound and was healed and lived. So you want to see the beast is going to come. He's going to try to come around and do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to try to put the mark in you, but it'll be the mark of a man, not the mark of Elohim. So he's trying to copy and do the same thing. That's why you sit back. If you don't know the law, that's how the anti-Mashiach is going to get you. Says, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, sanctify unto me all the firstborn whatsoever open the womb among the children of Yasharah, both man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which you came up out of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of the hand of Yahuwah brought you out from this place. Shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. Well, the food must be hot or something. So check it, right? Now, you know, you got some brothers, I think, what the day of the 20th, you got some brothers that's going to begin to keep Passover tonight. Somebody was just saying, posted something on my page, and they was like, they were amused because it was Passover again. Because obviously she probably seen that people kept Passover 2 different times versus the time that's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? And as I told her, you got a people coming up out of 2,000 years of pure and utter ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And it's certain things, I put it to you this way, the book say rebuke a wise man and he will be wiser. So sometimes, you know, you go in a particular direction and then y'all gonna bring stuff to your attention just to see if you're gonna correct yourself. You know, so I give you an example. Most of us ain't never sit back and look at counting the months by the moon. We just went by that because we read a new moon, automatically assume moon, didn't do much research as far as the language is concerned to see that what that was talking about. Now, of course, we could remember 3-4 years ago where there was a 13-month year. Well, we know full well scripturally there is no book for 13 months. So then we remember last year when I called, Sutton tell me to call my people in Detroit. He asked me, did I see a particular thing? So when it was brought to my attention, me, I think it was Will, it was Corey, it was Troy, Lil Stanley. We stayed up all night researching this matter and the next morning. And upon completion of what we looked at, we were able to determine that we were a month early. Therefore, we went from being in the 8th month back to the 7th month, which is why we redid atonement and tabernacles, not based off any other thing other than the scripture showed us this. So when it came back round that we getting ready to come into a new year, we see that 13th month year issue coming up again. This is why you have some brothers that are sitting back looking at this nigga here. You know what I'm saying? When you turn around and you sit back and you look at it, right? The 13th month year issue came up again. And this year, you had people that were asking like, okay, where 13 months at in the book? Now, you're not going to find it. Now, based off the adjustment that we did, we were in the 12th month. But it still does not denote the fact that there were 13 moons in a particular period. So then, the begun examination, we begin to look and see. Nowhere in the book do you see anybody looking for a new moon to determine the month. You don't even read that anywhere. Like we would sit back and look at where the new moon at. We don't read nobody in the book looking for a new moon. We can't find that nowhere. We sit back and look at when it actually would say new moon, it's going to say Yerach Kadesh, not Kadesh like we read when we see new moon. So then we begin to understand and look at something that maybe that was not the determination, considering it was the lesser light in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But it's to sit back and it's to look at things because you might have to change things and you have to know things. And that's just going to happen when it come on the course of this, because ain't none of us was born doing this like our ancestors were. You know what I'm saying? When we sit back and you go back and you look at it, even in captivity, whether they went to Babylon, whether they were in Medes and Persia, whether they were under the Romans, no matter what, they never lost the identity of who they were or were separated from the covenant. So they always knew what to do and what not to do and how to do it. And we coming up out of a period where we don't know any of this. And we trying to get, truth be told, a millennial's worth of lifestyle and culture back in hand in a decade. In a matter of years. You know what I'm saying? Now we don't even sit back and look at the level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that come in a short period of time that your ancestors had off the rip. So when he sit back and he's looking at it and we remember this, all this is talking about unleavened bread. The reason that's why I mentioned that, because brothers keep it unleavened bread, and I'm not going to ridicule and nothing, because like the sisters say, well, can we all come on one accord? Y'all willing? Everybody come on one accord and rock at the same time. That's the hope. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of brothers be like, when stop it right now before you fall. Both of you sit down. See what I'm saying? See, a lot of brothers be like, okay, when Mashiach get back, he gonna work that all out. But I don't see why they don't sit back and look at why wouldn't he work that out through the Ruach HaKodesh before he returned. So what we looking at is, when we looking at Passover or unleavened bread or matzah, what we looking at, hey, the noise, stop it. When we looking at that, that's where we get the framework of what's going on. This is why I'm mentioning all this. So when we look again, they say, what be the means of this service? And we look at verse 9, and he say, this is the day that you were brought out of Mizraim. So let me read verse 9 again, and then we'll go look at Exodus chapter 12. And it says, it shall be for a sign upon thy hand and a memorial between thine eyes, that Yahuwah's Torah may be in thy mouth, for with a strong hand hath Yahuwah brought thee out of Mizraim. So he say, coming up out of Mizraim, coming up out of the house of bondage, is supposed to be for a sign on your hand and a memorial between your head. A token, a mark in your head and in your hand. Let's so look at Exodus chapter 12. 12 and 13. Hold on one second. This nigga's crazy out here, man. Exodus 12 and 13. I make it 11 though. Make it 10 though. He's saying, you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remain of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And you shall eat it with your loins girded and your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Mizraim this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Mizraim will I execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mizraim. And they shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Well, that same word token in that same verse is that word oath. That sign, that mark, or basically the sealing of that covenant. When we spell out these characters, it's the mark, the sign of the covenant. So we begin to see something. Obviously, we see that this is pointing. It's pointing to the covenant that Mashiach did to give life. Well, Hashatan is coming back through his man, and he's trying to copy that. And he's trying to have that same mark as a token or a covenant or an oath that you make with him. So now we had to sit back and look at it. He deceived, say, all the merchants of the earth deceive the nations with their sorceries. Let's look at something in Matthew chapter 4, and let's see this man if he tried to deceive Mashiach with sorceries. Because we know 1 Samuel 15:23 say that rebellion is as witchcraft. Matthew chapter 4, probably about verse 4. Not even 4. About verse 6. We ain't even going to go all the way. About verse 8. Get straight on to it. Matthew, Yahu 4 and 8. Again, the devil take him up unto an exceeding high mountain and show him all the kingdoms of the world and the esteem of them. And he saith unto them, all these things will I give thee if thou fall down and worship me. Then saith Yahushua unto him, get thee hence, Hashatan, for it is written, thou shalt worship Yahuwah thy Elohim, and him alone shalt thou serve. You know what I'm saying? Now he coming to try to get this man to rebel. And what did he try to get him to rebel with his sorceries? But material items. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Revelation 12 and 9. This is what it says. Look at 12 and 7. We already had looked at last week, right? And that Yeshayahu Isaiah 24 about the high ones of the host being cast down and put into a pit. Look what happened. There was a war in Shamahim. Michael and his Malachim fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his Malachim and prevailed not. Neither was there place found any more in Shamahim. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Hashatan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into their rats, and his Malachim were cast out with it. This is why Mashiach come in John 8:44. He said, the lust of your father ye will do. Well, we see the desire of Satan is to be worshipped. So those who are of Hashatan are going to worship idols. Do you know what I'm saying? See, it's something come in my mind, right? In James chapter 2, you ain't got to go get it. He say even the devils or the unclean spirits believe there's one Elohim and do tremble. That means they know, Hashatan know what the book say. That's why he comes and he tried to mimic. When you look at all the false Mashiachs, the false saviors, the false anointed ones that they make, they always mirror Mashiach. An example of that is, I ran across that Superman thing earlier. Now, it came to my mind probably about a couple years ago, almost a couple years ago, when I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to go and get me an Under Armour Superman shirt. And then it came to my mind, this nigga named Jor-El or something. You know what I'm saying? I had to sit back and think about it, and I went and Googled it because I couldn't remember. I'm like, oh, yeah, this nigga supposed to be God. You know what I'm saying? And when you actually look at Superman's story, it's a mimicking of Mashiach. And there's many others. Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, Green Lantern. Somebody I knew pointed that out with Green Lantern because I wasn't, I had the Green Lantern toy. I seen the movie, but I ain't really paid no attention. You know what I'm saying? You look at a lot of movies, The Matrix, whatever dude name was, Keanu Reeves character, he was a Messiah type. You know what I'm saying? He does this. When you look at Horus and Krishna and all these other people, because Hashatan already know that this has been laid out from the foundation of the world. And he was in Shamahim, he done seen the pattern of the things in Shamahim that would be laid out in the rest. So he already know how the story go to a certain extent. That's why his objective was to come in and try to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Now, once it's been completed, he gonna come and try to mimic it. When he come and try to mimic it, matter of fact, just hold on. He say he deceived the nations, right? Look at Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Because you already should know from YAHUAH, Isaiah 34 and 16, he say, seek ye out the book of YAHUAH and read. You know what I'm saying? You have to know the book in order not to be deceived. If you don't know the book, if you don't know the law, you're going to be deceived. If you don't know the instruction, you don't know the Torah, you're going to be deceived. You look at the Torah and you be like, shoot, I just read Exodus 13. He say the sign on my hand and in my forehead supposed to be for Mashiach. That's supposed to be for him, for coming up out of Mizraim, for bringing me up out of sin. That's the token, that's the sign, that's the mark. And now we're going to sit back and look at the beast who's being backed by the serpent, by the devil, is going to come through. And he going to look like, look, I took a wound, I lived, just like Mashiach took a deadly wound and lived. You know what I'm talking about? Take my mark upon you and serve me. That's how he get you with the sorceries or the rebellion or end up in what? Idolatry. You know what I'm saying? He know what he doing. Revelation 1, verse 3. I make it 1 and 1 though. The revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, which Elohim gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his Malachim unto his servant Yachanan, who bear record of the word of Elohim, and of the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, and of all the things that he saw. Baruch is he that read. Baruch is he that read, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Remember, the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach is the ruach of prophecy. So if you take heed, if you read and you listen, then there's no way that you could get got. Now let's sit back and let's read Revelation chapter 13 one more time, and let's see what this man go do now. Revelation 13 and 1. It said, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, upon his horns 10 crowns, upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Now hold on. Come over here to Daniel chapter 8 real fast. Just hold this Revelation 13, come to Daniel chapter 8. Which the Apostle John is basically running back down. It might be Daniel 11. I could be mistaken. Let me see. Make sure it's Daniel 7 actually. Daniel chapter 7. Let me look at about verse 1. Daniel 7 and 1. It said, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and a vision of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of the Shamahim strove upon the great sea. 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from their rats, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given unto it. Now it just said that this beast had the mouth of a lion. Now let's see something in Hebrew what it got to this line. Said he had the mouth of a lion. Ooh, boy, I'm sweating. Give me one moment. And we got our rodness, this literally lion. Now we know lion is a devourer. Hold this right here, right? Hold Daniel chapter 7. Look at 1 Peter chapter 5. Lions devour. Let's see what Peter say about it. Say he stood him up as a man. He had a man's heart, which means he had a man's mind. Which is what we gonna end up having is man worship. Because at the end of the day, just like when you see how Shaitan tempted Mashiach, that's all he wanted. Would to be worship. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. First Peter chapter 5, verse 8. And it said, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walk about, seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the Elohim of all favor, who have called us unto his eternal esteem by Yahushua HaMashiach, after that you have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be esteem and dominion forever and ever. So be it. Now let's come back to Daniel chapter 7. Now remember, it said this man was given the mouth of a lion. How is he going to be able to devour you? He's going to be able to devour you with the words of his mouth. The same way that he devoured Eve in the garden with the words of his mouth. Because he told her that you will not surely die. But yet she was deceived and devoured. This is the same thing we were talking about last week. That he's going to come like a lamb, but have the heart of a serpent. You know what I'm saying? When we looked at the instruction of fools is folly, he's coming to devour you with his words. That's why he say he stood him up as a man. He had a man's heart. Now let's come back to Daniel chapter 7. In verse 5. He said, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in his mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So that turned around and look at, after he had deceived the people to devour them with the words of his mouth, then he gonna kill them. Hold on now. And behold, and I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of his 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. So in a quick period of time, he's going to take over and rule. And I saw in the night visions, behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. And it devoured and brake into pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now let's look at something with that now. But this 4th beast, and we'll just come back and look at all that in a second. We try to move real quick. It said he had iron. So we look at parzel as the word for it. And iron is to sit back and talking about strength. You know what I'm saying? The ability, the strength to be ruled. To rule. Let's look at verse 8, right? I considered the horns, and behold, there came out from among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now, we talked about that last week. How it said in Daniel 8, he'll come with flattery. You know what I'm saying? All these things. He's going to sit in the temple of Elohim and make of himself man. Make of himself Elohim and esteem himself above all things that are Elohim. Because he's going to speak great things. So let's come back to Revelation 13, because it said he would speak great words of blasphemy. He's going to speak a lot of great things, and he's going to have all these things encapsulating himself. Hold on. So when we look at Revelation 13 and 1, right? Well, that's actually in Revelation chapter 11. No, I hadn't got to it yet. My apologies. So let's look at verse 2, right? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth is as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So he's going to have a short period of time. What think what that verse is right this here? I can't recall the epistle letter when he would say, you know, your adversary, the devil, moved quickly, knowing that he have but a short time. You know what I'm saying? I think that's in Revelation chapter 12. Let me look and see. Let me jump over here real fast. Revelation 12 and 9 again. It said, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Hashatan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the rats, and his Malachim were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice in Shamahim. Now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of Elohim and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before Elohim day and night. We remember that when we were looking at Job. How Hashatan came and accused Job. That's what he does. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. That's the same way we overcame Pharaoh, which is why we ended up with a mark on our foreheads and a mark on our hand. Because of the blood of a lamb, we overcame it. Therefore rejoice, ye Shamahim, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the Arats. He say, and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he know that he have but a short time. Well, we know leopards move quickly. You know what I'm saying? And they sat back and it looked like he moved quickly and he had dominion. So this man only has a dominion for a short period of time to cause havoc. Come back to Revelation 13. So then when we look at, he's got the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion and the dragon giving him his authority. So what we see encapsulated in this man is this. We see the power to speak great swelling words. We can sit back and we can look at Nebuchadnezzar for that. You know what I'm saying? The power to kill. We can look at Sennacherib of Assyria for that. We don't have the time tonight to really deal into these stories, but these are people who were ruling over Yasharal at particular times. And then you sit back and you can look at having a short period of time to rule. We could even sit back and look at Nebuchadnezzar's son, which I'm going to mispronounce his name, so I'm not even going to say it. Look at verse 3, though. And I saw one in Revelation 13, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon or the serpent, which gave power unto the beast. You see what it said? They worshiped the serpent that had gave the power to the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? This sounds greatly familiar, does it not? This man is literally copying Mashiach. He is literally copying Mashiach all the way through. He is literally trying to be Yahuwah. He's literally, let's say, and we're going to sit back and look at it. A deadly wound was healed. All the world wondered after the beast. Now let's turn around and let's look at something, right? Let's look at something with Mashiach, right? Let's look in John chapter 19 and let's see what we see. Oh, got to use the app for that. I don't know, might be in the other book. He said he had a deadly wound. All the world wondered after him. John chapter 19, verse 30. Because we already know what? Isaiah 53 tells us what? He was wounded for our transgressions. So this man is trying to copy. This is what he's trying to do now. He's trying to sit back and make himself become the sign of the mark of the covenant. Because all we're going to sit back and look at it, just bear with me. Excuse me. 19 and 30, right? When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the Ruach. The Yahudim therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon a tree on the Shabbat day, for that Shabbat day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and of the other which were crucified with him. But when they came to Yahushua and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with the spear pierced his side, and forthwith there came out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true. And he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. Now come back over here to look. Let's just swing over one chapter to the 20th chapter of John, and let's look at verse 24. Because he got a deadly wound. Mashiach was wounded to the death. He was wounded for our transgression. He was put to death. This man took a deadly wound and was healed. Before we read John chapter 20, look at Psalms 104. Then Jeremiah chapter 30. I think it's Psalms 104 I desire. It's Psalms 107. Is it Psalms 107? Where's that at? I don't know. Here it is, Psalms 103. My apologies. Psalms 103 and 1. And we'll get Jeremiah chapter 30. I think Isaiah chapter 1 is coming to mind as well. We'll look and see. It's stuff we done looked at before in the past. It's in a different framework. Because we'll sit back and look at how he healed the deadly wound of Mashiach. And then he lived. So, of course, if the dragon is the one who doing this for the beast, then we sit back and we see something that this man is literally trying to imitate Mashiach. He say he saw it was wounded, and they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him. Worship the dragon. This is, if you turn around and you sit back and look at it, what did you think he was trying to do with Mashiach in Matthew chapter 4? Worship me and I'll give you this power. Because if you do it, then everybody gonna worship me. Well, we know the Son was trying to direct you to worship the Father. So that's what the beast is turning around trying to get for the serpent, for Hashatan, because this is what he wanted from the jump street. So all he trying to do is mimic the story. This is why the man gonna come in and say he gonna make himself to be as Elohim, because Mashiach was made as Elohim, because he's Yasharal, power to rule as all. And with man and with Elohim thou have prevailed. You know what I'm saying? This is what he trying to do. He got power from the serpent. He trying to do the same thing. He trying to show himself as being Yasharal. So if you don't know the Torah, you're going to fall for it. And you know what crazy? I would not doubt at all that when this man go to make that move, he going to make it during Passover. You know what I'm saying? Around the same time, because everybody know this when Mashiach got killed. And he going to try to copy and do the same thing. 103:1, bless Yahuwah, O my Nephash, and all that is within me. Baruch is Kadesh's name. Baruch Yahuwah, O my Nephash, forget not all his benefits, who forgive all thine iniquities, who heal all thy diseases, who redeem thy life from destruction, who crown thee with loving kindness and tender mercies. Let's look at Jeremiah 30. Now, we did look at last week when we talked about changing in a twinkling of an eye. When Moses stuck his hand and it was leprous, it was diseased. When he put it back in and it came out as his other flesh, giving us the similitude of what? We in this flesh is diseased. We have the disease of death. He said, my garment was changed by force or reason of my disease. He healed it from all our disease. What was disease? The disease was sin. The soul that sinned it shall die. So let's sit back. As long as you in this flesh, you will die. He had to come and remove death. So when these people turn around and they see this got to be the Mashiach. That's why he said, if he be in the desert, don't go. He said, I told you before, knowing the law, I ain't going to fall for that. That's why he going to tell these people, take this mark and in your forehead and in your hand. So it's got to go down during unleavened bread because he going to cop it. He going to cop it. Let me see. What I say? Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah chapter 30, right? Verse 12. For thus saith Yahuwah, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause. Thou may be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one. For the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. So he sat back. Hold on. Now let's look. Well, I'll just keep on going. Why cry thou for thine affliction, thy sorrows incurable, for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased? I have done these things unto thee. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. They that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Now we're going to turn around and sit back and look at this. Is what Mashiach will sit back and you see this here. All those that took thee into captivity shall go into captivity. We're going to sit back and we're going to see a framework of that in Revelation 13 now. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Yahuwah, because they call thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seek after. He said, I will heal you of your wounds. It says in Revelation 13, they worship the beast whose deadly wound was healed. Now also it says, as it were wounded to death. So he might not even die, but he's trying to mimic Mashiach. Yahuwah just told Mashiach, I will heal your wound. You see Hashatan coming and copying the play. We supposed to know the scripture. We supposed to know the law and the Torah and Tanakh. Don't even fall for that. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 1. That's the verse I want. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. Yeshayahu 1 and 4. A sinful nation, a people laden with, matter of fact, make it 3. The ox know his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Yasharal doth not know, my people doth not consider. We don't even sit back and think upon this stuff. This is why we'll follow after anybody and be deceived by the sorceries or the merchants of the world. Because we could get sold to follow any idolatrous god. A sinful nation of people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, for they have forsaken Yahuwah. They have provoked the Kadesh one of Yasharal into anger. They are gone away backwards. Why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick. The whole heart is faint. From the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises, and purifying sores, and they have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Now let's come back and look at John chapter 20. We done looked at this before, but just for clarity's sake, just to bring it back to your remembrance, he said these wounds ain't even been closed up. But he also said you ain't got no mollifying ointment. Well, we know ointment, sit back and look at oil. We know what the oil is, the Ruach. So when we look in Romans chapter 8, and it's saying the same Ruach that rose Mashiach from the dead, if he be dwelling in your mortal bodies, you'll be quickened together and he'll raise you from the dead. We begin to see what the healing ointment was that he brought health to him with, which was the Ruach HaKodesh. And Hasatan don't have no Ruach HaKodesh. So he has to try to come in with the framework of the little bit of power he got and try to mimic what the Father did with the Son. John chapter 20. Verse 24. John chapter 20, verse 24. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Master. But he said unto them, Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger in the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. Then after 8 days again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahushua, the door being shut, stood in the midst, and said, Shalom unto you. Then saith he to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands. Reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Master and my Elohim. Yahushua said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. But Baruch are they that have not seen, yet have believed. Listen what he said. And many other signs truly did Yahushua in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you might believe that Yahushua is the Mashiach, the Son of Elohim, that believing you may have life through his name. So believing in the sign, the mark, the covenant, the token, is the same way, because they had the token on the doorstep, or the sign, or the mark. The same way we look at the Shabbat as a sign or a mark, because we turn around and look at, he said it was a sign that the Most High worked for 6 days. On the 7th day he rested, and he was refreshed. He was made new. Same way Mashiach rested on the 7th day, he was refreshed and made new. We turn around and look at when we dwell in him and he dwell in us, then we have died to the flesh, we have died to sin, and we are made new. Because in Mashiach, old things are passed away, and in Yahushua you are a new creature. All things are made new. You are refreshed. Therefore, the sign or the mark of the covenant is upon you, because the blood of the Mashiach has wiped away your former transgressions, and now you no longer live. Like you say, we've been consecrated through the veil, that is to say, his flesh, by a new and living way. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the same way what we were looking at coming up out of Mizraim. By the token of the blood on the lamb, or the lamb on the doorpost, we coming up out of Mizraim to be consecrated to a new and living way. That's why he say all the things you did on the other side of the flood in Mizraim and in the land of the Amorites, leave that where you found it. It's going to be a new and living way. Consecrated through the veil. That is to say, that lamb's flesh and its blood. You understand what I'm telling you? So now the serpent, he has to come through with the same thing, a beast, or sit back and look at a man and try to come through with a man and do the same thing that the Father did with Mashiach, who came in the flesh as a man. Come over here and look at Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua HaMashiach, who being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the stake. Wherefore Elohim also have highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that in the name of Yahushua every knee should bow, of the things in Shamahim, and the things in the rats, and things under the rats, that every tongue should confess that Yahushua is the master, to the esteem of Elohim the Abba. This is the exact same thing when we come back to Revelation 13. Let's sit back and look at it. This is what the dragon trying to do. It did what the serpent trying to do. Let's see if he's trying to copy the same framework. Let's read that 3 again. He said, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? So now we need to sit back. He said, all the world wandering after the beast. Let's look at Matthew chapter 28 and 18, and let's see what happens after Mashiach raised from the dead and what he say. And we'll look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, because we need to ascertain that the Father raised him from the dead. And then we got to sit back and look at that if the Father rose YAHUAH from the dead, then YAHUAH will be pointing people to the Father. Therefore, the Father will get the esteem and the glory, or the glory and the honor and all of these things. We see Hashatan doing the same thing. So when we look at the mark of the beast being in the man's forehead and in his hand, and then making up an image that everybody should bow down to it and it should speak, because it's sitting back looking at, he's trying to mimic YAHUAH. That's who he's trying to copy. That's why the book saying, I think John chapter 7, verse 49 to 50, those that do not know the Torah are cursed. You automatically going to be damned, because you're going to follow after the wrong thing because you don't know the book. Matthew 28 and 18. It says, and YAHUAH came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in Shamahim and their rats. Now you sit back and look at it. All power was given to the beast and the rats. He had no power in Shamahim, though. He had power to rule over the whole of rats for 42 months, 1,260 days. He says, go ye therefore and teach all nations, immersing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Ruach HaKodesh, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. I am with you always, even unto the end, so be it. Come over here to the book of Acts as I try to recall in my head where it is that I want. Because you sit back and look at it, when it came in it, everybody went to wondering after the Mashiach. The whole world went to believing on him, to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the disdain of the Pharisees. See, they didn't like that. You understand what I'm saying? They ain't like that. Go to Acts chapter 24 and verse 1. You look at Romans 1 in a minute too. Say the whole world wandered after the beast. And you turn around and you look at it, the whole world was going after Mashiach. 24 and 1. After 5 days, Ananias the high priest descended unto the elders, and was a certain orator named Tertullus, who informed the governor against Shaul. And when he was called forth, Tertullus began to accuse him, saying, see that by thee we enjoy great quietness, and that our very worthy deeds are done unto this nation by providence. We accept it always and in all places, most noble Felix, with all thankfulness, notwithstanding that I should not be further tedious unto thee. I pray thee that thou would hear us of thy clemency a few words, for we have found this man a pestilent fellow, a mover of sedation. Sedation means rebellion. So he calling this man that he's causing rebellion the same way that Hashatan is causing rebellion. Among all the Yahudim throughout the world, a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, who have also gone out to profane the temple, whom we took and would have judged according to our Torah. So he said this man is causing a rebellion against through all the Yahudim, to call the people to wander after him. Well, not after him, but after who he preached. Come over here to Romans 1 and 4. Romans 1 and 4. So you sit back and look at it. What these people sitting back looking at, he got everybody following after. Remember what the scribes and Pharisees say? He said, if we let him alone, everyone will go after him. Because they say, well, who is like unto him? They say, who is like unto the beast? Who is like unto YAHUAH HaMashiach? The son of the living Elohim, the firstborn from the dead, the firstborn of all creation. All things were made by him and for him. Have power in Shamahim and Aras. Has the power to forgive transgression and sin. Has power to judge. Who is like unto him? Who is the one he said he thought it not robbery to be made equal with Elohim. He said, I and my Father are one. Who is like unto him? Hashatan, somebody sitting back looking at the beast. Look at him. He had a deadly wound and he lived. who like the beast. Because mostly, that's why he say, Baruch are those that have, he say, you have seen and believed. He say, Baruch are them who have not seen and believed. Because nobody has ever seen that. You understand what I'm telling you? Nobody's ever seen that. So nobody's seen Mashiach when he rose from the dead. So you got to remember something, right? In Acts chapter 10, about verse 38, that's when Peter or Kepha sit back and say what? He say, man, matter of fact, we'll just read it. I ain't going to quote. We're just going to read it. Let me read it, Romans 1 and 4. Make it 3. He say, concerning his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, our master, which was made of the seed of Daud according to the flesh, and declared to be the son of Elohim with power according to the Ruach of Kadesh, by the resurrection from the dead, by whom we have received favor and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. Because the obedience of favor called everybody to wander after Mashiach, to follow the Lamb. What did he say back when he came up to the people? He said, follow me. To wander after him is to follow after him. To walk in his footsteps. He said, if we sit back and say we believe, we ought to walk as he walked. So to wander after the Lamb is to follow the Lamb. To wander after the beast is to follow the beast, and then to be following Hashatan. He says, among whom are ye also called of Yahushua HaMashiach? To all that be in Rome, beloved of Elohim, called to be Kadeshim, favor to you, and shalom from our Elohim, our Abba, and the Master, Yahushua HaMashiach. First, I thank my Elohim through Yahushua HaMashiach for you all, that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. For Elohim is my witness, whom I serve with my Ruach and the gospel of his son without ceasing. I make mention of you always in my prayer. He said, if your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world, that means everybody know you following after the Lamb. We remember that when we were looking at the ark in Joshua or Yahushua chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. And then when John bared the ark and made mention, they go to Lamb of Elohim, and all the people, they went to follow after him. They wandered after him because who is like unto him? He rose people from the dead. He healed the blind. He healed the deaf. He healed the sick. He worked many signs and wonders. Just like you're going to see the false prophet coming, working signs and wonders before the beast to get people to believe on the beast. Because the false prophet coming, imitating Yachanan their Mercer, imitating John the Baptist, to get you to believe. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And then we'll get Acts 10 and 38. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12. Make it 3. Matter of fact, make it 1. Then we'll read verses 1 through 4 and then 1 through 5 and then drop to 12. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which you also received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you. Unless you have believed in vain. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Mashiach died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures, and that he was seen of Kepha, then of the 12, and after that he was seen of above 500 brethren at once, of whom the deep greater part remain unto the present, but some are fallen asleep. And after that he was seen of James, and then of all the apostles, and last of all he was seen of me, as of one born out of due time. Now let's drop down to 12. Now if Mashiach be preached that he rose from the dead, how say among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then Mashiach is not risen. And if Mashiach be not risen, then is our preaching in vain, and your faith is also in vain. And yet we are found false witnesses of Elohim, because we have testified of Elohim that he raised up Mashiach, whom he raised not up, if so be that the dead rise not. So we seeing, let's get Acts 10 and 38. We seeing something right here. Because this is what the beast is trying to do. This is what the serpent is doing with the beast. He's mimicking. (10 and 38). Make it 36. The word which Elohim sent unto the children of Yasharal, preaching shalom by Yahushua HaMashiach, he is master of all. That word I say you know, which was published throughout all Yehudah, and began from Galilee after the immersion which Yachanan preached. How Elohim anointed Yahushua Nazareth with the Ruach HaKodesh and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for Elohim was with him. And we are witnesses of all things which he did, both in the land of the Yahudim and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. Him Elohim raised up the third day and showed him openly, not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of Elohim. You heard what he said? Not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of Elohim, even unto us who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. Not to all the people. Come over here to Revelation 13 again. All the people didn't get it. So this is why they'll fall for this. Revelation 13. We'll come back, we'll read verse 5, and we'll deal with the rest of this stuff, because I ain't leaving that stuff open-ended. And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against Elohim, to blaspheme his name in the tabernacle and them that dwell in Shamahim. And it was given unto him to make war with the Kadeshim and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. There go that dominion from that leopard. And they that dwell upon the Arat shall worship him, whose name are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So those who the Torah, remember he say, blessed are your eyes, for they see. Many men have sought to see these things. Because they don't sit back and they don't know the Torah, they don't know the law, they going to miss it. They going to worship the man. They going to worship the man. They going to worship the man. Because they going to miss it. He say, if your name ain't written in the book of life, that mean your name ain't written in the law. I mean, because if your name is not written in the book, if your name is not in the book of the Lamb, that goes back to Exodus 32. He said, he that sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Because you got vessels fitted for wrath. You understand what I'm telling you? You got vessels fitted for wrath. You got vessels fitted for wrath. And those who never believed and never obeyed. John chapter 6, verse 63. Hold on one second. We gotta get some straightening real fast. John 6 and 63. He said, it's the Ruach that quicken, the flesh profit nothing. The word that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. For Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. He said, therefore I said unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time, many of the disciples went back and walked no more with him. These will be the same people that going to sit back. When that time come, that great temptation come on the earth, the people going to stop walking with this man after that. Because they were never with him. Because they never believed. You know, that man say, no man can come to the Father but by me. Then all things, come back to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, right? You know, every time in Matthew chapter 15, what Mashiach said, they say, man, worship Elohim. This is the whole thing that the Son would come to do. He said, he that believe on me, believe on him that sent me. He said, if you seen me, you seen my Father also. Therefore, the Father will get all the esteem, which is what Yahushua wanted from the jump street. Look at something in 1 Corinthians 15, right? By verse 24. He say, then come the end when he shall deliver up the kingdom to Elohim, even the Father, whom he shall have put down all rule and authority and power. For he must reign till he have put all enemy under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death, for he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things that are put under him, it is manifest that he is accepted, which did put all things under him. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that Elohim may be all in all. So when you sit back and look at it, Mashiach is turning around that all the esteem and honor might go to the Father who raised him from the dead. This is what Satan's trying to copy. Revelation 13 again. This is what Satan's trying to copy. That's why he say who would like unto be who's able to make war with him. Because we know the Son of Man coming back to war. See, he's sitting there copying all this. Because we know he coming back on the YAHUAH in judgment and in righteousness to judge and to make war. Who gonna be able to war with him? Say that here come the Lamb. Who shall be able to abide in that day? This is why he gonna come with great wrath like a bear to devour. He want to go to war. He want to go to war. That's why you turn around, you look at that when Samuel getting ready to fight Goliath. I mean, my bad, I'm thinking of 1 Samuel, but when David went to fight Goliath, and he tapped back and he told his brother, he said, man, look here, man, my sheep was in the mouth of a bear and a lion, and Yahuwah allowed me to pluck them up out, and I slayed them both. This is what Mashiach coming back to do. I'm going to slay that bear and that lion. Yes, I know. So, let's look at about verse 9. He said, if any man have ears to hear in Revelation 13, let him hear. He that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here the patience of the faith of the Kadeshim. Remember, we already read that in Jeremiah 30. That he that go into he gonna lead, and all those that took you into captivity will go into captivity. Same thing. So verse 11, I beheld another beast coming out of the rats that had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and called all the rats to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, and do great wonders, so that he make fire come down from Shamahim on the rats in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the rats by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the rats that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by the sword and did live. Hush. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that both the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Well, now it's the same thing when you seen that Nebuchadnezzar made an image and he had that flute play. And that everybody who wouldn't worship that image, they were killed. All he doing is repeating what's already been done. There's nothing new under the sun. That's what the book say. And he caused both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, say he had that mark, say that he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. And here's wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So when we turn around and you sit back and look at it, it's the number of a man. And if man's sitting back doing the same thing that Yah had going on. That's all he's trying to do, is he's trying to copy that. The token, the covenant. See, hold on, because I mentioned that here. Let's turn around and let's look at the covenant that he's trying to make. Let's look at Genesis chapter 3 and verse 3. And let's look at the covenant that he's trying to make versus the covenant that Yah made. Genesis chapter 3 and then Isaiah 28. Isaiah 28 and probably about 15, or Romans 6 and 23. Genesis chapter 3 verse 2. Well, 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, Elohim said, have Elohim said, ye shall not eat the tree of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For Elohim doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at the difference now. Now you know good and evil. He said, now just sit back and look at it now. He done came and made, and this woman done made a covenant or an agreement with death or a token or a sign or a mark. Let's come over here to Isaiah 28. 28 and 15. Make it 14. Isaiah 28 and 14. Wherefore hear the word of Yahuwah, you scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell we are at agreement. When the overflooding scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood we have hid ourselves. Well, this is the same thing going on with the beast, because he deceived all the nations. So you done made a covenant agreement with death, and with lies you are at agreement, and you're trying to cover yourself with them. Romans 6 and 23. Make it 6 and 22. Because we know he that commits sin is deserving of sin. So all this man trying to do is to bring you into the captivity of sin through the agreement with his mark and his covenant. His covenant is with death. Yahuwah's covenant is with life. That's why he say the Ruach is what gives life. The flesh profits nothing. You know, miss me with that. Say, being now made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have your fruit unto Kadesh, and the end everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach, our master. The payment for sin is death. This man sitting back, he working death on these people, because all these people going to be killed because they made this covenant with him. Hold on, man. Hold on. This nigga here crazy. I'll be about done in a minute. So, let's see the direction that we're going to go. Now, you know that he said he came to give us life and shalom and abundance. You understand what I'm saying? So, Hashatan coming to bring death. He coming to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what his objective is. So let's look at Revelation 14 and let's see what happens to those who make that covenant with him. That's why you see in Revelation 9, that's why he said, except for those who be written in the Lamb book of life. They don't get slaughtered. That we read, the same thing you read in Ezekiel chapter 9. Those people didn't get killed who had the sign of Elohim in their forehead. He say, mark them. Who sigh and cry. He say, put that token, put that mark in their foreheads. That same token and mark they supposed to have in their forehead to remember that memorial of coming up out of Mizraim. The same mark that's supposed to be in our hands and our forehead for remembering Yahushua HaMashiach came and delivered us from death to make us free from sin. That's the token, that's the covenant. That we done cease from our works like Elohim ceased from his. That's the token, that's the covenant. Going right back to Exodus 31 with the Shabbat. Now, when we turn around and you sit back and look at it, ain't no shalom, ain't no rest for the wicked, according to Yeshayahu 57. So these people ain't going to get no rest for making an agreement, a covenant with Hashatan, which is the same thing Hashatan tried to come and get Mashiach to do in Matthew chapter 4. Is this nigga still going to be? Revelation chapter 14, man. 14 and 9. And the third Malachim followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. Because remember, he's saying worshiping the beast. You know what I'm saying? You know that they came and bowed down and worshiped Mashiach. To serve Mashiach is to serve the Father. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the Kadesh Malachim, in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment is sent up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receive the mark of his name. Whoever received, look at Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 8. Just look at Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 8. Because I seem to be a little perturbed by that. You got his panties in a bunch. 6 and 5 though. 4 I should say. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah Elohim is one. Yahuwah. Thou shalt love Yahuwah thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And thou shalt talk of them when thou sit in thy house, and when thou walk by the way, and when thou lie down, and when thou rise up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. Now we sitting back and we knowing. You know what I'm saying? We sit back and we knowing. Like this here, right? We know that Mashiach did that. He walked, talked, spoke of the word when he walked, when he laid down, when he got up. You know what I'm saying? All of these things, right? So we sitting back and we get the understanding of knowing that when Mashiach is in us and him, then we are sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh, like Apostle Shaul wrote in Ephesians chapter 1 by verse 14. Therefore his name would be in our forehead. Because he said, I will write upon you my new name. You know what I'm saying? That name would be in your forehead. His mark would be on your hand. Instead of it's the mark of Elohim and not man. So all Hashatan trying to come do is copy what Mashiach did. I can't say that definitively, but I would not be shocked that when all that happened, what we looking at in Revelation chapter 13, that occurred during the time of unleavened bread. Hello? Hello? What's going on with you, man? Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked that all this stuff go on during unleavened bread. Because when we look at all this stuff, the beast taking a deadly wound that'll be healed. When he healed, everybody worships the dragon who gave him his power and say, who is like unto the beast, who can make war with him? Then he's given dominion and authority, just like Mashiach was given dominion and authority. Only difference was he didn't get dominion in Shamahim and the rats. The beast just get it in the rats. Then he come up and he has somebody come up and say, worship him. Oh man, I hit the wrong thing. He say, come up and worship him. You understand what I'm saying? Say, come up and worship him. Then he makes an image or an idol that all men should bow down to, when we know the book say every knee shall confess. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. The same way you turn back and you look at Genesis 37 when the 11 sheaves made obeisance to the Yosah, or Elohim shall take away my reproach. Then after Mashiach is rolled from the dead, and now he is Elohim have taken away my reproach, and the 11 sheaves, the 11 apostles, bow down and make obeisance unto him, who is like unto him. So here come Hashatan with his so-called Mashiach, his false servant. You know what I'm talking about? Who's like unto him when the people see that? Then, just like the law say, that we supposed to look at coming up out of Mizraim or coming up out of Egypt, right there in Exodus 13, he say, man, set this as a mark in your forehead and as a memorial upon your hand. So you got a mark of Elohim in your forehead and in your hand when you came up out of Mizraim, when you came up out of slavery, when you came up out of sin. So that's the same way you supposed to have the mark of Yahushua HaMashiach in your forehead and on your hand, the same way, because that's what the law say. Then you going around and see the beast supposed to have a deadly wound is healed, and he come through and do the same thing. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened during Passover when that day come. I wouldn't be shocked. It only makes sense to do it if he gonna copy what the book say. You know what I'm saying? You go look at Exodus 13 and 9 for yourself, and we already read it several times. You're gonna sit back and see for yourself, because we looking at the word oath. It means token. Just for the brother came on and sit back, I read it to you again. Sign in Paleo Hebrew. Another example of how the pictograph Hebrew works is the word oath. It's translated sign, token, mark. It's spelled with the aleph, the u, and the ta. The pictograph characters we have means the mighty one of Elohim, the nail, the ta with the cross symbol meaning mark, sign of covenant. So the sign of the covenant are cut. Our mighty one is nailed to a tree. Our mighty one takes a deadly wound. A deadly wound and is healed, which heals all the nations. You know what I'm saying? You sit back and you look at it, right? Because it say the tree was for the healing of the nations. You know what I'm saying? Mashiach put the death on the tree, which is for the healing of the nations. You know what I'm saying? It's for the healing of the nations. So this nigga gonna come with a deadly wound and try to act like, see, come after me. I'm for the healing of the nations, because he coming in shalom and with flatteries, like we talked about last week. Whole time he coming to work death. Mashiach came to work life. Well, here he coming to work death. He gonna copy. So it only makes sense for him to do it during Passover. It only makes sense for him to do it. Let's look at end it right here in Matthew chapter 24. I said I was going to deal with this here, man. I didn't think I was going to do it today, though. Matthew 24 and about 24. Oh, that book don't got that page in it. Give me a second. Maybe this one got that page in it. Nope, gotta use the app because that ain't got no page in it either. So when we sit back and look at it, looking at that mark, just meaning the sign and the token, then we begin to see something. Those who take the sign and token of the beast are making a covenant agreement with death. They're making an agreement with Hashatan. Those who have the sign of the token of the covenant of Yahushua, or through the token of Yahuwah through Yahushua, they have a covenant of life. Oh, why he say the covenant in Malachi 2, he said the covenant I made with him was with life and shalom. You know what I'm saying? Hashatan ain't coming with that. You got to know the difference. Those people that make that, you sit back and look at it. Those that made the covenant with Hashatan in Revelation 13, they perish and they burn forever. Make it Matthew chapter 24 and verse 23. Those who make the covenant with Mashiach will be with him and live forever. He said, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Mashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Mashiach and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. So